Hello, and welcome to the Women's Rugby Pod, episode 184. Sarah Berner's back. I'm Johnny Ham. We're back. Sorry we weren't with you last week. Berner, how are you feeling now? You've been under the weather.
Yeah, I've been really ill actually.
We can still hear it, yeah.
Yeah, I know. So I might have to cough a few times as well. But no, I'm feeling much better this week. But yeah, last week I was not very well at all.
Oh, you poor thing. But look, the headline news from the from Bern Towers is you're back in training. How exciting is that?
Yeah, so it's really exciting. I'm doing my first running session today as well, which is really cool. But yeah, back into doing some skills and daytime stuff with the girls, which has been great. And then still watching training from the sidelines in the evening. But yeah, daytime's definitely got more exciting.
Another blinding weekend from the Six Nations. Loads of headlines just sort of flying out at us. It was another good weekend, wasn't it, for lots of different reasons? Yeah,
great weekend. Like some really good rugby, some really interesting scores as well, which I'm sure we'll go into in a minute. But yeah, I thought it was a lovely, a great weekend for rugby again.
Yeah, no, indeed it was. Look, there is one headline that we absolutely have to pick out, or I certainly want to pick out, is the return of Cliona Maloney. For I think that those in the know, there were exits from the RFU that had to happen for her return to come back, and I know Scott Bemand was certainly making those conversations happen when I spoke to him at the launch. But look, it doesn't matter. We can't rewind time. Cliona Maloney deserves to be in a green shirt, and it's all about rugby performance, isn't it? If you're not chosen because you're not good enough, that's one thing. But anything else, it's just very, very difficult to swallow. So fair play to your strength and bravery to stick in the fight, Cliona, and brilliant to see you back. There we are. There's the little rant, positive rant for Cliona Maloney. But look, some outstanding performances from individual players. We're going to be doing our normal annual team of the tournament with Ali Donnelly from Scrum Queens and Sarah Orchard from the BBC, who's been commentating on the England games for you on the BBC. Hopefully, Bernie, you can join us as well. And we do a team of the tournament, but a couple of Joneses in there at the moment. Away for Kildana, Muir, and Monaghan, Bottoman, Calafui. Anyway, we will get to that at the end of the tournament. Today, we're going to look back at that round 3 of the Women's Six Nations. Just remind you of the scores: England 46-0 over Scotland, Ireland 36, Wales 5, France 38, Italy 15. We'll have a look at all 3 of those games. We'll have the news from around the world with you. From Rori, got Sevens news, European champions, domestic champions in New Zealand as well. Former Ireland coach Greg McWilliams will be on the pod. It'll be fascinating to get his take on where Ireland are now, especially after that amazing performance of the weekend. A few shout outs, and we'll look ahead to this weekend's games as well. But I guess that headline performance and therefore scoreline is the Ireland result. And why don't we get the opinion of someone who's right there at the coalface with Ireland not so long ago? Greg McWilliams, the old Ireland women's coach, joins us on the WRP now. Greg, absolutely delighted to see you. Been a little while, and
yeah, it has been
choppy little waters we've had to traverse since then. Greg, lovely to see you. You and I mean, look, whenever we have you on, people just want to know about Lana Rose. Is she well?
She's doing terrific. She's downstairs with Archie. They're cutting potatoes at the moment with Sarah. So I'm looking forward to dinner in a little while.
Love that. Straight after their chimney sweeping. No, there's no child labour in the McWilliams household.
No.
But you're well. Look, the reason we got you on, obviously you're very close to Ireland and a former head coach, of course. And you came out on social media the weekend saying that a bit of a seminal performance from Ireland over Wales at the weekend. It feels like that, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. I think if you've been tracking their performances, through the WXV, it was hard to get a gauge of their development. But I thought in the first 2 games, they showed signs, particularly in their defensive structure. I thought Declan Danaher coming in was a very smart move. And I think they've shored up their defence. We saw a lot of two shoulder hits, which is great. They're slowing down ball. They're getting numbers on their feet. They're bringing line speed. And full credit, I thought they showed glimpses against France. I thought they showed glimpses against Italy. And I thought they played really well in the first quarter against Italy in particular. And they got nothing on the scoreboard, but you could see it coming. I thought against Wales, I thought they were outstanding. I was just happy for this group. I really was. It's tough to talk about because a year has gone on since last year's Six Nations. It absolutely went the opposite of how I wanted it to go. Not winning a game was really tough as a coach. But to see the way they performed, I think now it's important that people in Ireland just cross that line in the sand and get behind this team and support them because they deserve it. They've worked really hard, and I thought last weekend they were outstanding.
No, I think in any organisation, the mood, the culture comes from the very top, doesn't it? And we see it in Scotland, and we've been willing Scotland to get off that losing run, and actually, WXV did that for them and chuff for them as players because they're cracking people, and that Ireland squad is the same. It's full of some really, really good people. You must have been delighted. Where exactly did they get it right technically, Greg, against Wales? Let's get nosy.
Again, I think when you look at the players going into contact, I think the support players are converging really quickly on the ball carrier, and I think they're clearing threats very effectively. They're obviously working very, very hard at that, and it's really impressive. But as I said, I think the most important part of their game, and when I watched the first game actually against France, I realized, you know what, I should have spent more work on defense because the difference that a really good defensive structure makes is huge. I would have been very much trying to play and spend probably too much time on the attacking side. And if I was to do it all over again, I'd start with the defense and I'd build a really strong defense like Scott's done. He's done a terrific job, him and Declan. I was really impressed with getting their numbers on the feet. Again, 2 shots per carrier. For Wales in particular meant that players were getting around the corner. They're bringing really good line speed and they're stopping Wales from playing. And you're seeing young talent that has been festering and coming through the underage pathways, beginning to get their moment and their time to shine. They've just been outstanding. Aoife Wafer, I know she got her first start in 2022, and I was delighted because I knew that she was somebody who's going to be exceptional. But she went through about a year of an injury, so she missed all of 2023. And to see her starting the way she started, I mean, she's one of the best players in the competition so far, and she brings an energy both sides of the ball that just brings people with her. So that's leadership. Leadership isn't always people who talk. It's people who just do, and she's a doer, and people are getting energy from her performances. And I think that's the most impressive thing. And, their scrum has improved again with Dennis Fogarty, done a great job. And I think they're going in the right direction. And I think this Irish team, they're getting a bit of momentum. I think it's our job now to get behind the team and to give them all the support they need, and hopefully they can finish out the Six Nations in style.
Look, I suspect kept it slightly arm's length, and you've been doing some media work and chatty stuff as you are superb at doing. But I suspect you were kept a little bit of an eye. What in and around, because we talk on this pod and Italy get contracts, and we don't really know what kind of contracts they are a couple of weeks before the Six Nations, and you can see that in their performance. And England are completely aligned and completely dominate, and you see it in the performance. What wasn't aligned a year ago that is aligned now?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing at the moment is work that started happening, and certainly when I started in 2021, I was the full and only full-time staff member. And now you might have 15 full-time staff members. We had no professional contracted players. We now have, the guts of over 20 contracted players. You have pathway coaches, you pathway teams, and everything is linking up now to the senior side. And look, there's flaws in every pathway. It'll take a while for the Irish pathway to settle. But, if you watch what's happening at under 18s level and you watch what's coming through, and you watch and you look at the age profile of this current Irish squad, I mean, there's so much hope. And in fairness, Gillian McDarby deserves a huge amount of credit for putting that together. And, you know, I believed in her plan. I still do, but it takes time for a plan to really shine. And we just saw the real evidence of that at the weekend. So, you know, I can only state what I saw when I started there after they failed to qualify for the Rugby World Cup. And while we didn't have a good year in 2023, I would like to think that we did help put in place structures that you can see today. And I think sometimes in any environment, you have to go down to the very bottom before you can really enjoy the fruits of the labor. And I think the last year would have been that very bottom where we went through it. I think it's important to go through it. And you're seeing them now on the rise. And I think, you know, it's easy for me to just remain positive, but I'll never forget when Ireland played England in my first year in charge, and we played them at Welford Road, and we got beaten pretty convincingly. Scott Bemand, who came in as the head coach, was straight over to me with a beer. He brought 2 chairs out onto the field in Welford Road. It was beautiful sun. I was scratching my head going, God, we just took 60. Like, it wasn't pretty. And he was just, he had a really good way about him. So I knew they had a good person who came in after me. And, you know, he's had experience of coaching in the women's game for 8 years at the very top with great players. And I knew that he'd come in and he'd see, I suppose, him put his mark down in the team. And the staff that were already there were well capable of adding good value. John McKee, Cian O'Brien, Ed Slattery, they've Larissa Muldoon in. And they're a terrific staff. So I think things are just coming together over time. Another year of professionalism, another year within the pathways, another year doing the same structures, working with the same coaches, and there's talent. And all credit to them. You know, it's as I said to you, it's been a tough year. You know, you essentially failed, but at the same time, you got to reflect back and realize, you know what, fair play to them. They turned it around, and I, for one, was very happy watching the TV screen last Saturday. That's for sure.
Brilliant, because the moment that the players aren't at the centre of it, that's when you start to go wrong. Do you think a couple of things I want to pick up there with you? Do you think it's helped Ireland having an outsider, someone who isn't connected with Irish rugby, and then also he's a world record breaking coach in terms of the run that England have been on and all the rest of the most dominant team. Since time began, has that helped sort of just smash the glass bowl, as it were, a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. As I said to you, I think they've got the right person in charge. I think, though, when I went in as head coach, being fully honest with you, from being in that environment before, you kind of feel you're going to come in and everything's going to work. But very quickly you realize that you're only as strong as everything around you. So we went through lots of change last year, huge amount of change. But the IRFU, to give them their credit, and that's why we need to get behind this team and get behind the IRFU and change the narrative, is they realized that they were doing things wrong. They worked incredibly hard to get it right. And it's made it, I'm not going to say easier for Scott, because I don't undermine the work he's done, but it's allowed him to grab the team and run with it. And there's no doubt that he'll bring out the best in the players. From coaching the women's game before, he'd probably be very good at understanding how leadership groups work and understanding good communication skills with them. So, no, I think hats off. I think they started brilliantly, and you know, I'm looking at 44,000 tickets being sold as well for the Twickenham game. I mean, just what an occasion for women's rugby and for that Irish team to go out there and have a realistic chance of competing. I'm not suggesting that they're going to beat the English side, but that's probably not even in their psyche at the moment. They're just thinking about their own performance and getting things right. And if they do, they'll give themselves a chance of maybe pulling off a shock.
That they may well do. It may.
You never know. Look, a shock could be being very competitive at half time and being very competitive starting the second half, and maybe England might run out. But this Irish team, the way they're playing, and they're getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And remember, and again, if you look at Adele McMahon and Sam, who, like, we missed Adele McMahon last year, we missed Eva Wafer last year, we missed Avian Riley, we missed Eve Higgins and Baven Parsons, players that are there now, they've added so much value and they've made competition for places. And in any environment, if you've got competition for places, you're on to a real winner. So it'll be interesting to see now, who do they go for at hooker? You've got Clean Maloney there. You've got Niamh Jones there. I mean, it's hard to leave one of those players off. So now you've got competition, you know, and you have, you know, if Niamh Jones was to start, you've all of a sudden got Clean to come in off the bench for the last 20, 30, 40 minutes. I mean, she's going to add huge value. And, you know, Enya Breen at 12 as well. And you've got Aoife Dalton and you've got Eve Higgins. I mean, they're three world-class centres. And, you know, when you don't have two of those for a campaign, it just stretches the depth. And I think that the more that this Irish team continues to evolve and gain more momentum, the more competition is going to be for places. And that's a really healthy place to be. And I think this Irish team is just going to go on a good run now. And they're going to be competitive with the best in the world in a couple of years' time.
And you add into that the performances at Celtic Cup, and it's a change of environment, and it's a different shirt, and you're playing against different people, and that helps all that kind of stuff as well. It just appears to me, Greg, that it's almost, despite what the RFU were doing, the performances and the girls were sort of sticking together. Did it feel a little bit like going into the ring with your arms tied behind your back? Because it certainly feels as though that, you know, there's somebody helping Ireland put their gloves on now and polishing down the shorts and taking the robe off for the players now. And that's new this year.
No, look, no excuses. I think, you know, we got a lot of support from the IRFU.
But you didn't have the sevens players, for example, Greg. The sevens players, even in an Olympic year, the sevens players are here this year and they weren't last year. I
just don't agree with making any excuses. You know, I think that we had to get to where we got to last year to get to where they are now. I think, again, it's not how I wanted. It's not how I wanted the role to go at all. No. And you know, I still struggle with it. You know, it took me, honestly, a couple of months to get out of bed. You know, it really hit me hard. But in saying that, it was just part of the evolution of a group, and I think last year you have to play with the cards you're dealt, and we just got on with it. And as I said to you, having, you know, 12 or 13 additional players into that squad this year has bolstered that group hugely, and it's got competition. But the RFU knew what they had to do. They had a very clear plan. I was there for the start of it, and it was tough, you know, because you're essentially trying things out that never been done before, and we made mistakes and we made issues, and I certainly would change some things. Again, like, you learn from your experiences, and you know, I don't really want to go back and talk about players we had or players that we didn't have. I think it is what it is, and all I would honestly hope for is that the Irish public can just put everything behind and the negativity that comes with it, because I was in the back end of a lot of negativity. Yeah. And I struggle with that because I really cared about the players and I cared about doing well. And that was probably the most upsetting thing. You have, you know, young players, 18, 19 years of age, just out of school. They're putting on the Irish jersey. They're representing their country. They're doing their best, and they're getting a tough time in the media, not necessarily from rugby supporters, from people who are keen to keep the whole thing down. And I really think that this team has shown massive strength to come out of it, and I believe they're going to go on now to do great things, and fair play to them. And I, for one, wish them the best of luck.
So Twickenham is we're hearing sort of 48,000. We're kind of up at that level, which will be an amazing occasion for the players, and the supporters as well. But realistically, we've spoken about sort of competing for a half, that kind of thing. Scotland in the final round, that looks to kind of be winnable now, doesn't it? And we certainly wouldn't have said that 6 months ago.
Yeah, I think definitely winnable. I mean, I think this Irish team, remember, you're playing Scotland at home. When you play Scotland, Wales and Italy at home, like this season, and again, I'm not comparing it to last year, but it does give you a better shot. You know, even the year that we won the Grand Slam in 2013, we played England and France at home, and that makes a big difference. So I think this Irish team will be very competitive in their last 2 games, and you never know. I can see Scott's smart coach, John McKee's smart coach. I'd say they'll have a couple of tricks up their sleeve, and they'll try and upset England a little bit. But we all know John Mitchell's a smart guy as well, and I just think it's going to be a fascinating game. But I would like to think that Ireland will be very competitive against England. They'll learn a huge amount from it, whether they win, lose, or draw. But that Scotland game, I think, they need to target it, and they need to show how much they've come on in this Six Nations and from last year's WXV. And I mean, roll on.
Greg, we'll leave it there because we're busy on pod talking about all the rest of the games. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. And yeah, it's from the women's rugby community how sad that it has that effect. But we all knew how much you cared, and sorry that it ended the way that it did. But please tell me you're still tinkling the ivories and still singing.
Yeah, look, again, I don't want to give the wrong impression. I mean, I had a great time. It just results in professional sport. When they go against you, it's tough, right? It's not easy. But the most important thing, as I said earlier on, is that we can get behind this Irish team and give them support because they're playing cracking rugby. And, they've been through, 4, 5, 6, maybe since 2017 World Cup, where they've struggled with the momentum. And negative momentum is a really difficult thing to turn. And now they've got a bit of positive momentum. I think if they can build that, particularly coming from where they've come from, I could see them going on to great things. So, no, I'm in great form. I'm enjoying things at the moment. I'm definitely playing a bit of piano, a bit of guitar, not very well, but I'm in a good place. And I'm looking forward to the next round of matches.
Great. You're going to get a tracksuit and a clipboard back in the hand soon. Who knows?
I don't know. Who knows? I'm enjoying what I'm doing at the moment, and it's nice to have a bit of a break. I've been coaching essentially for about 26 years, where it does occupy a lot of your time. And I think now it's time for me to give back a little bit to Sarah and to my kids and to my golf game and things like that. So,
if you're playing lots of golf, you're not going to see the family much. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, no. So it's all good. And thanks a million for having me on. I think your show is great, and I want to wish you all the best moving forward.
I'm Rachel Malcolm, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
Fascinating stuff from Greg. Thank you so much for his time, and his candor as well. Very, very interesting stuff in there. But Berna, Wales Island, did not see that coming. You?
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't think it was going to be that big a difference. I think Ireland, again, like we said, they've been building really nicely. They've been playing some really lovely rugby. And they've got the support of their union behind them now, which is great. Wales, though, I didn't think it would be that much of a points difference. Wales, again, they have some brilliant players, but I think I think Hannah Jones said at the end of the game, Ireland just wanted it more, and I think they probably did, but they're also probably in a good environment at the minute. They look like they're trying new things. They're having some positive play. And that can build momentum for a team, where I think Wales I don't know, just from watching, I feel like they are getting a bit frustrated with trying so hard and not getting that kind of momentum building. So it's really interesting to see. But yeah, fair play to Ireland. Like, they scored some amazing tries and they did some really, really great things.
Let's stay with Ireland and the positive. Yeah, I think lots of little factors, isn't it? A new coach can help that. Clearly been some changes behind the scenes at the very top level, high performance department, that kind of thing, which I think has sort of alleviated, lightened the mood. And speaking to Scott Bemand, and have known him for a long time, just a slight shift in him that he's around a huge successful, a record winning side, wins in a row. But you take what you want from that and then you put it into your own, don't you? And there's a lightness to him that I've not seen before. And I think that's particularly helping. He's done a lot of work with why they're playing for Ireland and that kind of stuff. yeah, there's some work to do clearly with contracts and domestic rugby. And then you get the Cleaner Maloney's coming back. And the hurt of last year. I think, that was a part of it, wasn't it? Got absolutely stuffed by Wales last year, 31-5, absolutely bullied. And I think, players like Sam Monaghan wanted to repay that compliment, but they just shut the door on Wales, everything they did.
Yeah, definitely. They had strong set piece. They got a fair few line breaks in that game. And I think, absolutely fair play to them. They're finding the holes and they're finding the right spaces to play in. And then what they're doing is keeping hold of that ball. Now, that's really difficult to stop if you have a team that are playing in the right spaces and keeping hold of the ball and making line breaks. Well, that's a very hard game for the defending team. You're always going to be on that back foot. So, really impressed with them. Looking forward to them playing in Twickenham this weekend against England. Now, that's going to be a brilliant spectacle in itself with 48,000 people potentially going. Sophie Ellis-Bextor playing, England, having their run of wins as well. But I think it would just be a really great atmosphere, and it's quite positive, that Ireland had this result, because it will fill them with confidence and momentum to go into that game and be like, right, we've got nothing to lose here. Let's rip into it and try the same again. Yeah.
The defence has clearly been a real work on for Ireland, as I say, shutting that door on Wales at every opportunity. Declan Danaher in there doing that, but it's a really nice blend as well, and the Red Roses sort of getting, certainly sort of there. You've got your Linda Dewgang, your Sam Monaghan, Dale McMahon, now Cleaner Maloney. Eve Higgins out slightly wider, and then you've got your youngsters, Dorothy Wall in the second row as well, very experienced campaigner. Then your youngsters, this Aoife Wafer, I mean, he's taken the tournament by storm, isn't she, on the open side? Young lady, Dan O'Brien as well at 10, playing Ireland in the right areas. They're tactically really smart as well, aren't they, Berna?
Yeah, and that's from Scott. Scott, like you said, he had a very successful run with England. The game plan at England was territory based. It was smart decision based, and I think that's great for Ireland. How do they use their brilliant tens that they interchange, get them into those right spaces that can kick them down the pitch, and get them out of those danger zones. And that's what I think is the biggest difference this year. Although they have some brilliant players back in, they've got Parsons, they've got their sevens players back in, which definitely strengthens that that back line and that defensive system within that back line. You also have a plan to get people away from your try line. So if you can get people away from your try line, like if they make a line break or whatever, or a mistake, it takes that pressure off. They're not so close to scoring. And I think that's what Scott is really good at, is coaching that kind of style of rugby. And it's really positive to see. And now you have your players coming back, like Cleaner, Sam Monaghan, your strong ball carriers. Now that's going to be a massive threat in the opposition's 22, stopping those kind of players, stopping that aggression and the line breaks, from Wafer as well. Yeah, it's no wonder that they put so many points on. It's really positive to see.
Talking all about clean, right? Neve Jones is playing out of her socks at the minute. Absolutely outstanding, pound for pound. She's unbelievable. Plays well above her diminutive stature, certainly. She'll have a great battle with Cleaner Maloney, won't she, for that number 2 shirt? You add in the little extras of the Celtic Challenge as well, those 7 players coming in. But I think you have to come into the right environment. If it's a wrong environment where you're not quite happy to express yourself, Aoife Wafer doesn't play as well as she does. And I think, the environment is top of the list, isn't it? It's the key thing to get right. And it appears that Ireland have got that right.
Yeah, and Scott, he's a very energetic character, like coaching him for years. He's never short on energy. And kind of trying to build that positivity. I can see, how that's really impacted Ireland, and you can see by the players, they're not afraid to try new things. They look like they have some confidence and some freedom, and some structure and game plan. And now you put those 3 things together in a team of really good, passionate players anyway. you're gonna start seeing better performances, better results. And it comes down to now you've got getting that strength and depth within your squad. You've got Neve Jones starting, who, like you said, a brilliant player, and then you've got another brilliant player to come off the bench and replace that. So actually, that's something as well that I think they've done really well, is trying to create those best players and create that strength and depth within the squad. That will really take Ireland to that next level and get into the next tiers of playing.
It's obviously Scott Bamand's first win. Is it too dramatic to say, and I wouldn't be the first person sort of saying it out there as well, that's a seminal performance and win for Irish women's rugby at the national level? Is it too dramatic to say that? To have that feel, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's an exciting time. It's very similar to, what we were saying about Scotland the last few weeks. It's exciting. They're playing good rugby. They look like they have that freedom to play with. And then, we saw that from Ireland this week. And that's, when you see a team like that, even just as a supporter of sport, you go, oh, this is exciting. I want to watch that. And you generate a fan base. And it's great. I think that was the first game where Ireland probably were like, no, this is going to work. We've got this. And you could see in the players, they were excited to play. They're thinking of, where we're coming from now. And that's great to see a team with that energetic kind of vibe around them. And it's great that, Scotland and Ireland are both in that place now. And you watching the games and stuff, you're thinking, God, this is some really brilliant rugby here. And I think that's great to see women's rugby. You're seeing the game plans, you're seeing how they're trying to work it. It's probably something that maybe has been missing in the last few years. And it's great to see that we've got people in place now putting those structures in.
Conversely, Wales, 7 losses in a row. There's quite a lot being made of WXV1 performances and certainly results weren't where they wanted to be. We've spoken about this before. But losing is a habit, isn't it? Vince Lombardi, famous NFL coach, but that's 7 losses in a row. And Hannah Jones afterwards publicly talking about want. I don't think that's a good sign. Yeah,
I think Wales will be disappointed, knowing a lot of players that play at Bristol and at Gloucester. They're incredibly hardworking. They are always in camp. They are always training incredibly hard. And I can see now with the last few games, there probably will be frustration in thinking, what's going on here? Because the girls themselves, they work incredibly hard. Just seems a little bit disjointed this year. I feel like watching them play, they're struggling to get that momentum forward. And, what we're seeing from Ireland and Scotland, the exciting plays of rugby and that momentum, I feel like we haven't quite seen that from Wales. And I think the players themselves will be annoyed and a bit like, well, I don't really know what's going on there. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but I think you could see in the Ireland game that the girls were clearly upset and disappointed, and they, you would be. It's so hard to see two different totally sides of kind of a camp environment. You see this Ireland positive, exciting play, and you see Wales, that are clearly a bit exhausted, and I think I really feel for them, because there's some brilliant players in that team. Well, most of the players in that team are brilliant, and there's some great individual try scorers. And you see the brilliant play there from Kaylee Powell, who's come back in. A little inside ball, clean line break from Cara. So they have it. It's just, how do they keep that momentum? How do they keep that foothold in the game? And I think that's the bit they're probably all getting a bit frustrated at now.
Use the word exhausted. Just no idea. Not involved, but just some rumours that they might be overtraining a little bit, and possibly there is a danger that they've had, and we mustn't. And I think that's why it's really important to look at this as a whole tournament for Wales. Let's make some proper judgments come the back end in a couple of weeks' time, but. Whether there's some slight overtraining, but they've had a cracking couple of years, and whether they're just trying to get ahead of themselves. Oh, right, we can do it now. When actually you've got a new 10 who, we've spoken about before, needs to be in the groove and well supported around her. pleased the way that she bounced back, especially beginning of that second half, had that kick charge down at Chloe George, but she carried on, dusted herself, back off, and continued the game and played reasonably well. But she's not firing on all the cylinders that we have seen at Gloucester Hartpury, for example. And again, is that down to kind of an environment thing?
It definitely could be. I think with Wales, I think there's a lot of pressure on Llaki to be their kicker, pivotal kicker. And if you look down the back line that they've played most recently, then they're not known as kicking options in the women's game or in the international stage. I'm not saying that they can't, but they're not known. It's not like you have a Emily Scarrett at 13 who can kick, or a Holly Aitchison or a Zoe Harrison falling into that 12 role who you also know can kick. It's not. So it puts a lot of pressure on Llaki, and it also means that it gives them a target to defend. Gives them a point to pressurise, and I think that's what Ireland did really well. I think the last few games England did it as well. If you pressurise the kick, that's the thing that gives you that leasehold into the game, that gives you that foot placement into the game, and that's not going well. I think they struggle. I'm not entirely sure if they have a different plan from what I'm seeing. Not to be horrible or anything. I think the girls really want to. They want to play. So for me, I don't know. It must be the pressure that she's getting put under by players, by probably the media as well. It's probably all affecting. It's a lot of pressure to deal with, and it's great to see that every single game she comes out and she's like, it's not really getting to her too much. But yeah, you're right. It's not. She's probably not in the same kind of supportive place that she is in Gloucester, where she has Natasha Hunt, who's another kicking option. You have Tatiana Hurd, who is a brilliant get out of jail option in that centres. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, look, it's difficult questions for a current player. I understand that, but she does have Karen Lake outside, who got a bag for the caps. Kira Bevan started the weekend, who has an exceptionally good box kick, and she's a wonderful footballer. Kicks for goal. Did in the World Cup very, very well, particularly against Scotland. So she does have that. And then you go to Ireland and Diana O'Brien, who very young, early 20s, doesn't have an experienced scrum half inside her. Not wonderfully experienced 12 outside her. Kicking options. Yeah, Lauren Delaney is a very solid performer at fullback, isn't she? And does have a boot on her, certainly. But yeah, just counter that argument with that. Just Wales look slightly constrained. Just it's all got a bit too much. The pressure, the shirt has got heavy. But look, they will move on to France at home, and they will have to perform because we'll talk about France a little bit later. But looking very powerful in the sun, the Stade Jean Bouin. Let's move on to you're talking about reactions of players, and a lot of Scotland players very, very upset at 46-0. Big fanfare, brilliant sellout, bigger picture trajectory, sellout, Pipers. We're all talking about it, positive. But for the Scotland players who played well the last few weeks, did it get too much for them? All the hype and the noise?
No, I think what happened is you've got England they're incredibly brilliant athletic team. You watch how Scotland played the last few weeks. It's been a lot about the counter-attack, how they know that Llaki was going to kick it against Wales. They got the counter-attack. They had a really strong counter-attack. You look at that again against France, France dropped two in the backfield. It was all about and they're going to kick a lot. France do kick a lot. So, it's kind of, I think for me, it was like how they wanted to play the same game plan, slightly different. But when they kicked it, the kicks didn't quite go probably where they wanted to. It didn't quite go off. It went straight to Ellie Kildan or to one of our wingers or, to someone you don't want on the ball, essentially, in that kind of broken up space. I think England did give Scotland a lot of ball. I think they had something like 36 handling errors or something like that. But I think Scotland didn't quite know what to do with it. Because I don't think it's how they expected to get the ball. I think they probably thought, there might be more kicking options or something like that. I think I really felt for Scotland because was so excited for them, and I thought they were doing, they were playing so well and they're playing such a good style of rugby, but they just couldn't keep hold of the ball for them. And I think with the things that they were doing really well in the other two games, it just didn't pay off, because you had an exceptional, you had like an Ellie Kildun there catching the ball and running off, or you had, people in there getting the turnovers, messing up their ball, slowing their ball down, dominant tackles by England. It's hard. There was only one line break against England. They have a very good defence. So how do you get into those places? And I think that's kind of what Scotland were a bit like, oh, I don't know. How do we break this down? We can't get through them. We can't seem to get over them. What's that next phase? And I think, unfortunately, it just comes down to England have a team of incredible players. They have an extremely strong bench. They have an extremely good defence. Whether you like the style of rugby they play or not, or the new style they're trying to play, or the turnovers that they're creating, they have that, and they can get incredible go forward from tiny offloads. You look at Hannah Bottoman, tiny offload from Maud Muir, line break. You look at, and although she kicked the ball, which was right.
I did feel for the gust of wind that took that so sharply left. Nothing to do with the side of her boot.
I know you look at, Tat, incredible ball carrier, hard to stop, 3-4 defenders, getting her down, creating those edge spaces for our back three to just fly through. I think, I think it was a hard day for Scotland, and I really felt for them, because they have been playing so well recently. And I think it was more of a, how do we score against these guys?
You're really good at this. You brought it back to Scotland, which is where it started. You should do more of this stuff, I tell you. Very good indeed. No, I just wanted to, I'm pulling your leg. Just carry on with Scotland just for a moment or two more. But it's a bump in the road rather than oh my God, we've got to change everything. It's one of those days, and perhaps we'll talk about the conditions more in terms of England, but possibly never seen anything like it. Certainly not the women's Six Nations. I do remember one game down in Biarritz, Cardiff. It was a bit like your Australia game in the World Cup.
Oh,
that kind of rain.
That was dangerous. That was
absolutely extraordinary, and you literally needed to have wellies on. But yeah, look, we'll get into the conditions in a second as to how that could have affected England. But it is a bump in the road for Scotland, and it's one of those, and you go, okay, right, well, look, they are bloody impressive. Excuse my French. And it's one of those days, and we move on to Italy and some sunshine.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not, I feel like they shouldn't be too disheartened. They put in a really good performance against France, who, again, are a top-tier team. They have a really good opportunity to, do really well in this tournament. And England, they are a very impressive team with very impressive players. And I think they will probably be sad that they didn't get any points on the board. But I think the main focus in that they've got to sort the line out. I think for the last few games now, it's really created opportunities for other teams. We saw it against Ireland, and they're all great line-out jumpers, lifters, throwers. It's just getting that timing right, and under that pressure, keeping hold of that ball. I think if they can really sort out their line-out, I think they will do really well, because the plays that they're playing off of their set piece are really lovely to watch. Yeah,
a couple of points. Yeah, couldn't agree. I mean, bonkers decisions as to where they were throwing it in the first half. And I know Emma Wassell dropped out, didn't she, just before the game, which will have affected things. But it's a professional team now. You absorb that kind of stuff. Finn McIntosh, with her first cap, congratulations to her, Saracens' second row. When they shortened the line out calls in the second half, the line out's far more effective. Difficult day to judge the line out with the conditions.
Yeah.
To be fair. But I agree, it's been a pattern the last few games. But the last point I wanted to make on Scotland was the fact that they were gutted, and we're saying that they can feel right to be disappointed, because it's not 70, 60, 80. We've seen results, England, Scotland, in years gone by. It's now they want to be properly competing with England, and that's, again, that's a positive, the fact that we're talking like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's so nice to see like teams, like I said, playing good styles of rugby, really wanting it, like, and believing in themselves. I think you've always had to have had a belief in, Scottish players, Irish players are always confident. But I think now they have the support and the structures around them where they can go, no, we actually have a really good chance here, and fully believe together as a squad. And in that culture that they're creating, I think it's great to see. And I think they should definitely, pick your heads back up, brush it off, and crack on to the next game. If you want to be competing with the top teams in the world, having a loss is not always horrific, because you can see, right, what did they do? How did they do that? What's not going on here? They're on a really good trajectory anyway. They've won so many games in a row. So actually, it probably is a good thing to be like, okay, we're not quite there yet, but what happened? What can we take into this next game?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just say, fair play to Brian Easton in his pre-match interview. The interview board behind him was going like one of those shaking boards that you use to make horrible noises. Oh, it's hilarious. And he kept his composure, and fair play to Jenny Drummond, who's asking the questions. That was fab. Their reaction is going to be key, and we'll get into that in the second half of the pod.
I'm Sadie Hibaya, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
England then, marks out of 10.
I think, what was it, 8 tries?
Yes.
Very good. I think for me, as a spectator, not as an England rugby player, looking at the stats, and the handling errors are high, extremely high. And I know England want to play flat to the line. They want to play an expansive game. They want to find the spaces, which is good and it's great. I think we now, what is this, third game in, leading into France away, which is an incredibly difficult game to play in itself because of how France fill the stadium and how hostile that environment is. That pressure alone, with the handling errors that are already really high, is something that really, I think, needs to be looked at, as well as the discipline. And I think, Amy, the first one, really unfortunate. I think the way that breakdown was, Rosie was in it as well. It was not malicious. It just, it's got to be safety of the game, though, card. And then another one to the head, again, not malicious, going for the ball, to a player getting tackled, a player dipping to tackle, you're going to get a shoulders to the head. All players fine and safe, which is the most important thing. But again, that leaves us on another game with a man down, playing good chunks of the game, and I think I was speaking to someone else, and England have played something like 94 minutes over the last 3 games with 14 or 13 people, which is actually crazy to think about how they're getting these results still. And I don't think it is the players. I don't think it's the players' fault. I think every single one that's happened has been through an intent of trying to clear the ball. It's not from, being nasty or malicious or anything like that, negative. I think it's more about, why are they happening? What's the cause? What do we need to look at here? 3 of them have been within the breakdown. So is a breakdown a focus we need to look at? If that's what teams are going to do to slow our ball down, is mess up our speed of ball and get into that breakdown and slow it down. How do we combat that? We can't just keep giving away cards, although very different cards. We know, is there something we need to look at there? Because you want to keep 15 people on the pitch, because that's how you win a game. And as we saw in the World Cup final, it does make a difference, as well as England are. It makes a difference to having a man down, or woman down even. So yeah, I don't know. That's it for me, really. But again, England, strong performance, big ball carriers, good driving maul, good set piece. So they're incredibly difficult to slow down at the minute, and they have every right team of brilliant players. So
a couple of things I wanted to pick out of that was, it's inventive, isn't it? The Six Nations making England go down to 14 players to try and make the whole thing a bit more competitive. It's an interesting. I am joshing. I think it's a really valuable point, isn't it? 40 plus points in 3 games, and 2 of those basically with 14 players, and you're still posting 8 tries. That in itself is impressive. Fair play, Rosie Gallagher, in that tackle. Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things, but it's becoming regular to see yellow and red cards that other teams aren't getting. But Rosie Gallen placed the player like she was placing a sort of freshly baked cake down on the floor. I thought that was exceptional, just off camera. She was dutiful for the safety of the player. But yeah, the conditions, I think. Lou Meadow, she sat here. She says, conditions were horrendous, and actually, we are trying lots of different things, and the passing width, but also like you were saying, the little tip-offs. Holly Aitchison gave one, and it literally the pass is 15 centimeters, but just to move that point of the contact, and in those conditions, those beautiful soft hands from her. You can see where England are trying to grow, but it just becomes, with the handling errors and the dominance, it just, you're an ardent Red Roses supporter. I'm just sitting there going, yep, I think I know the ending. And yeah, look, Sunta was saying a couple of weeks ago, it will come, and 100% it will. And as a coach, you don't want to, if players are going to express themselves and try things, you're not going to have a go at Messi Jones, are you? In the centres for the kick across field. That is nothing you'll see on the training field. But what a wonderful piece of skill in Ellie Kildun's, on the same page, and it's a great score, a great finish. So you want to try these things, and therefore probably more mistakes are coming. Just for me, just too individual at the minute, and I think the connection's not quite there. And again, we're fairly early into it, aren't we? That would be the reasoning behind it, I guess.
I think as well, it's a new coach. Although a new coaching team, it's mainly a new coach because we had the coaching team in WXV. People really want to put their hand up. England, they're looking to get contracts for the World Cup. And that's kind of the place they're in now, which is why I think we're seeing more people being like, right, this is my time. I was actually really impressed with Jess Breach at the weekend. I thought she played really well, and that try she scored was actually a really difficult try to score. Beating those 4 defenders, it was not easy. So I think, for me, Jess did really well. Obviously, Ellie is a great player, and given the space she's off, she can beat defenders as well. So she's playing really well this tournament. Again, Maud and Hannah Bottoman, again, great carriers, line breaks, played really, really well. I think from England, it's kind of, it is kind of what you said about slightly individual. And I think it's just everyone trying their best to impress, trying to get that spot for the World Cup. I just think leading into France, in terms of the handling errors, France are a team you don't want to give the ball to very easily from previous experience, especially if you're playing quite an exciting style of rugby. It's something you don't really want that, because they do have players that will pick it up and go, gone, try, scored. So if I would be looking at this Ireland game, I'd looking ahead, I'd be like, right, okay, how do we, our defence is pretty solid. How do we, protect that breakdown, make sure we keep 15 people on the pitch? And then also, how do we make these really good kind of nice hands, soft hands decisions? How do we kind of just pull back on those errors a little bit? Is it a confidence thing? Is it a defensive thing? Is it, how do we look at that? They're the things I would be looking at leading into Ireland, which then will put us in really good stead to go out to France and just absolutely rip into it. And
the bottom line is the Red Roses have that luxury to be able to be a bit individualistic, to be a bit putting their hands up, and not making that decision, right, that's best, 100% best for the team, and rather than for me and my, but they can afford to do it. 46-0 against Scotland. Got to give a shout out to Sards as well. What about that pass off the left?
Yeah, Sardia. It's great to see her getting that start as well, and she's a great. Well. Yeah, captain against Wales, wasn't it? Yeah. No, looking forward to having her back on the pod and chatting to us all. If she'd stop bossing us around now, Berna. She bossed you around in the pod and in camp as well.
So yeah, fair play to England. Move on, of course, this Saturday, Twickenham against Ireland. We'll look at that after we've heard the news. But lastly, 38-15, beautiful sunshine at the Stade Jean Bouin. Great stadium, love the place. Very happy members. Obviously, 2014, England won the World Cup there against Canada many moons ago. France very powerful. They're looking good up front for me. Yeah, full stop, actually.
Yeah, full stop. I think France, you've got some, you look at the try scorers there, you've got some brilliant French, both of the front row on there, the two props. You've got Fall, who again is a phenomenal player. You've got this pack of forwards, and it's very similar to England. You've got a pack of really kind of strong, resilient, agile athletes there who do have good set piece. So yeah, not surprised at all to see those on there at all. And you still got a strong back three. You got strong backs from France. They have very good, nine. I think potentially they're still getting used to not having Sansus, who has kind of run the show there for the last few years. Bourdon again is a great nine, by no doubt. Like, is she bad at all? But I think when you get used to playing with a certain player, it's then okay. How do we create that again? Just get used to it a little bit more. But they're doing so well in this tournament. It will be an exciting last two games, I think. Yeah,
Sansu said that sort of Jameson Gibson Park kind of role, just ultimate facilitator, ultimate conduit as a nine. Bourdon Sansus is a little bit more individual than Sansus, her partner Sansus. So yeah, that may be it. But yeah, a little bit diamond rugby. Having said that, it looked as though Italy sort of just come for a jolly chaining run in the Paris Sunshine. The mentality, and Dinka got a couple of tries in the end, and she's a very lively winger and continues her good form in Six Nations. She has done the last couple of years. But yeah, it just didn't really turn up for me for the first 40, 50, 60.
Yeah, I think it's getting to that point in the tournament now where we're kind of, that's the third game relatively halfway through. People, it's hard. It's a hard tournament to play back-to-back hard, difficult games. You start to see it in teams and in players, and that kind of that mental toughness as well. It's a hard tournament to always get through feeling great all the time. And I don't think any player would say, "Oh, I felt brilliant this whole Six Nations," because you just can't. The amount of training that you get through and the intensity of the games, it's hard work. So I can understand. And France away, like we said, it's a hostile environment. France fill their stadiums up. They make it a great showcase. They're really good at that. But also, the French fans hate every other nation. So you're walking onto a pitch, and I remember walking in with England more than one occasion, booed the whole way through from my under-20s career up until now. And I guarantee it will happen again at the weekend, in a few weeks' time when England go out to France. So it's a hard environment to play in. France are a really hard team, and we're at like quite a hard bit of the tournament. So yeah, I feel for Italy because I think in the last few years they've been doing really well. Like you said, Dinka's been incredible, and they've had the few players who have done really, really well. But again, I think France, it's a different beast again, like in England.
And I hate to say, it's almost turning into sort of environment kind of podcast. Perhaps that's what we call this episode. But when everything is aligned, and I was just going to ask you as a player when you're in there, or whether you're just too focused, but when everything is aligned, players, who are the showpiece that go out for the 80 minutes on a Saturday or Sunday, whenever it is, they perform better. The RFU lead the way because they're the strength and the bravery and the Sudays and all the rest of this world to say, well, actually, we're going to invest in the league and national players, whether it's contracts or maternity or whatever it is, right? We're going to commit to this. Scotland now lining up, Ireland now lining up. Italy just simply aren't there. Contracts a few weeks, not really sure the strength of those contracts either. And that was a couple of weeks before the Six Nations. And does that kind of thing have an effect on your players? Can you feel when you're all singing off the same hymn sheet?
Yeah, I think as a player myself, if you don't feel like you're being heard or supported, it's difficult. It can be really difficult to be like, not because you don't want to or because you have any want. It's because you just want them, someone to be like, yeah, we want you to achieve, go and get it. So it can be frustrating, and it can lead, if they're sitting through multiple different conversations, meetings, talking about contracts, stuff like that. It's a stressful time because one, players don't know who's getting contracts. Two, you've got other jobs you need to sort out, or you've got families and stuff like that. What are they going to look like? It can take away from the tournament. So I do feel for Italy. I think you look at Scotland and Ireland, they're in a place now where they have that support. The unions are showing them, okay, like, we are listening to you, we're trying, to make it better. They're trying, and a lot of the time it's not really. I think female players know it's not going to be like that, and everything's fixed. It's a female sport. It's going to take a long time, but to have a union go, yeah, right, we're trying, we're listening to you, we're trying to sort it out. I think that makes a really positive impact, and it creates an exciting feel because you're like, oh, we're part of the same team, the same cloth. I think if you have things like that going on in the background, it can be tough to be like, you don't support us, and I don't know. That's just from my own opinion. I don't know what's going on over there, but it definitely can take away.
And all these are sort of us as outsiders, obviously being slightly more inside the Red Roses camp than anything else. But views from outside, and obviously backed with a lot of historical evidence and knowledge and whatever. But look, there we are. This weekend, England against Ireland, 2:15, Saturday at Twickenham. Italy versus Scotland, Parma, 4:45 on Sunday. Wales against France, 3:15. Cardiff, Armors Park. We're going to look at all of those after we've caught up with the rest of the news from around the world with the lovely, effervescent Rori Taylorson.
Thanks, guys. Rori Taylorson from Weybridge Vandals Valkyries, here with all the rest of the news from the last few weeks. There's plenty to update you on, so let's get going. For the last time in the iconic stadium in Hong Kong, the latest chapter of the HSBC World Rugby 7 Series was played out. It was New Zealand who picked up the third tournament title in a row, beating USA in the final. Australia came out with the bronze. Ireland ended up 8th, losing to Japan. And Team GB beat Brazil to finish 9th. That result extended their lead, but only by 2 points over the South Americans, who are in the drop zone in 9th. Good news that the Rugby Africa Women's Cup is back in May. And back in Madagascar with those incredible fans watching on. South Africa, Madagascar, Cameroon and Kenya will be the 4 nations competing. However, still no news on Divisions 2 and the 3 teams like Tunisia, Uganda and Zimbabwe. It's now semi-finals time in the Super Rugby W in Australia. The last 2 rounds, the Queensland Reds got their maiden win over the Rebels. The Brumbies lost 7-20 to Fijiana draw, and then to Western Force in 36-38 thriller, but still hold on to a semi-final spot. New South Wales Waratahs won their final 2 encounters to finish top of the lot with 5 from 5. Fijiana draw ended up losing to Melbourne Rebels, but still finished second in the table. So final positions in the regular season are: the Waratahs finished top, dropping only a single point. Fijiana draw in second, with Western Force and Brumbies in 3rd and 4th. So this Friday, Fijiana draw are up against the Force in Suva. 4:35 kickoff for that one. And in Sydney, the New South Wales Waratahs face off against the ACT Brumbies with a 6:35 p.m. start at the Allianz Stadium. The grand final will be on Sunday, 28th at Ballymore Field. The Blues women are Super Rugby LPG champions for the first time. It was a breathtaking final with an incredible turnaround sparkled by Kalia Awa in her debut season. The Blues were taken down 5-18 with 15 minutes to go to finish it 24-18. a rerun of the first ever game of the Super Rugby Alpiki. It was the second year in a row that Chiefs Manawa have lost the final from a sizable lead. Champions were also crowned in the Rugby Europe Championships as Spain beat Sweden 53-0, making it 3 from 3, having beaten the Netherlands the week before. Spain will now play the team that finished 6th place in the Six Nations for a place in WXV2. More celebrations, this time over in the United States of America, as the Life Women's Rugby won the Women's D1 Elite National Championships. To finish up here in England, Bristol and Saracens will battle it out in the PWR Cup, having won their respective semi-finals over Gloucester Hartpury and Exeter. Shaftesbury Park in Bristol will host the final on Sunday, the 28th, at 2 p.m. Loads going on, which is what we love to see. I'll be back next week after a trip to see the Red Roses at Twickenham. It's me, Rori Taylorson, signing off.
Thank you, Rory. Let's have a look at round 4 of the Women's Six Nations then. England-Ireland, 2:15 at Twickenham. 48, we think, kind of nearing that kind of number sold. And if you're lucky enough to be swanky enough in the debentures or hospitality, you'll hear Sarah Bern's views on the game.
Yes, I'll be there with Rocky, going round hospitality. Yeah, so come say hi. I think we might be pitch side as well, so I'll come and say hello to some of the fans.
Ah, marvellous. But you see, people on the WRP, you don't have to pay the huge extortionate prices to get into Twickenham. You can hear Sarah Bern's thoughts on the game this weekend. Anyway, Saturday afternoon, 4:45, Italy, Scotland from Palma. Sunday, Wales against France, 3:15, the Cardiff Arms Park. Get down there. Wales supporters, don't give up the faith. On paper, very, very good side. Just a little few tweaks they could do with your support. So, yeah, get yourselves down there if you're in the Palmer area. Got a few listeners there. Yeah, do get down and watch that because that's a big old game, isn't it? We'll get to that in a second. England, Ireland, 48,000 at Twickenham. Looks like it's going to be dry, not particularly sunny. Do England really need to be clicking into sort of the higher gears now here, Sarah Bern, and sliding things together for what is going to be the game of the tournament, isn't it? As it has been for many years, England-France.
It's not be all and end all, but to have confidence going into France away, it is important. Like I said, hostile environment, very good team. So yeah, I think England will want to have a cleaner slate. I think the players will. I think the players are really wanting things to click now, and as much as the fans and the supporters are wanting that as well. So I think, yeah, the girls, I think it will be a strong team. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a strong team being put out, a team similar to who they would want to play against France, because it's the team, they want to get the synergy together. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But yeah, I think England really now will be wanting to go into that 4th, 5th gear now.
You've got links in the camp, and obviously people are monitoring and what have you all of the time. You've got many friends, probably some of your best friends within that camp. Is that the air with the performances so far? It's like frustration.
No, not some frustration at all. I think, being part of the England side as well, we are always looking for that perfect performance or that thing that clicked. And if I'm being honest, it never happened. It's only happened. I've only felt like that twice in my career.
Go on, tell us when.
Once was when we played in Rotorua, New Zealand away, before the Lions game, before the World Cup, and we beat them. It was like the first time in 20 years we'd beaten them away.
Yeah.
And it just really flowed. That whole game flowed. The decisions were right, and that was probably the main time. And another time, I can't remember, but there has been another time. But that's the main time I really remember thinking, oh, this really flowed. This really clicked here. I think people, will want that. Like, people want that. They want us playing nice rugby. I think they get a bit disappointed, mistakes and stuff, individually and as a team. So I think England are now really in a place where they want to start seeing that now. It's been, we've had WXV, We played well, but I wouldn't say it felt super clicked. Six Nations, we've seen again not feeling super clicked. Bits of really brilliant, bits of not a few mistakes or here and there, stuff like that. So I think they'll want a game where they just feel that momentum the whole way through, or as much as they can. But I think Ireland will definitely come to ruin that party. They'll slow the ball down, get in the way, and I think Ireland will actually play some really nice rugby as well. And I think they'll score some, one or two great tries.
I was going to go into, so obviously selection for you would be far more in line with what they think they're going to go against France. That would be where you would go. I don't disagree at all. I think it's a big old occasion, and you want that 15, that 23, pretty much that you're going to get out to Bordeaux with the week after. Yeah, I'm in line with you on that one. Where can Ireland see chinks in the Red Roses armoury? So I was just going to make it. I think the game plan that England are trying to play is bonkersly ambitious, and if it does click more, I'm not sure we would have seen the likes of it in women's rugby. I will caveat that because I think you want to play not A, B, but C, D, and E. If it does all come off, certainly in patches, and it has momentarily. It will be amazing. But where are Ireland going to go? Right, well, we can get stuck in there.
To be honest, I would go, looking at the statistics of the last few games, I would go, right, how do we defensively turn that ball over? I would say we know that there's handling errors. Who's going to be that first person to jump on it and get hold of it? I would try and also keep hold of the ball, which is really exhausting. But I would not be kicking it to our back three. And I also wouldn't want I wouldn't want to be playing a game where I'm always on the defensive line, tackling Maud Muir, Molly Packer, Hannah Bottomham, that's an exhausting game as well. So I'd actually be looking to keep hold of the ball and get it off of England. And I would attack that breakdown.
And when those turnovers come, because of the way that England are trying to play, and we've referenced the handling errors and what have you, when you do get that ball, you have to strike and have to punish the Red Roses, whether that's with territory or with points on the board, etc., etc. So, yeah, training, just turn that ball over, and see and try and play some rugby. Sam Monaghan, I think will stand up as she has done. She's just an exceptional rugby player, isn't she? Like her battle with a Gallagher or a Ward or an Allcroft is going to be mouth-watering. You're clearly predicting an England win, though.
Yeah,
you are. Let's go to Saturday afternoon then. Italy, Scotland. Big game. For Scotland's reaction, want to just touch on that to start with? Yeah.
I think Scotland. Yeah, I think I love Italy. I think they're great players. I think they're a great team. They're extremely passionate. I think the way Scotland have a really good chance of winning this and putting in a very comfortable performance. Like I said, if they can sort out that set piece, keep hold of that ball, because that's what Italy are really good at attacking in broken play. They have some brilliant athletes, can sidestep, get through a great broken play. So if I was Scotland, I'd be looking to keep hold of the ball, use that attacking flair and get into those right sides, those right spaces of the pitch. And I think Scotland will be really good at it. However, I think Italy might be frustrated at the game at the weekend. And I think they'll come out all guns blazing. And Italy are always a hard team to predict on because they play such a lovely flair kind of style of rugby. But I think that will be a very interesting and exciting game if both teams turn up and really want it.
Yeah, and they didn't play each other in WXV2, did they? But Scotland were pipped. I'm going to say it was on points difference, I think. Only a couple of points difference that they picked WXV2. And therefore, look forward to them meeting next time. Italy will be better at home, won't they? They like having the Suns in their back. They like having the old fuel by Parma ham and all the rest of it.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. Amen. Beautiful stuff. Bit of melon. Oh, stop it. It's lunchtime burner. Parma ham. You totally and utterly not my trail of thought. But no, look, in reference to them against France, they will be a better team this weekend. They have to be, don't they?
Yeah, I think they will be. I have faith. Like, I think both these teams will bounce back, and it will be a real battle. They'll be looking, who can compete with who. I think they'll come out both very passionate. Italy, like I said, at home support. If they can fill that stadium with supporters, that will be great for them as well. But I think Scotland, in terms of how they're structurally playing, how they're trying to play, I think Scotland might have that upper hand just in terms of their organisation. And yeah, I think it will be incredibly exciting though. I think, some good rugby will be played there.
Who's winning?
I think I'm going to go Scotland.
Scotland win. I'm with you. Away win for Scotland.
Yeah.
Because I think Scotland are in a different place now, and I think it tears at the end against England. In those conditions, and you can find lots of excuses, can't you? I just got to us today, but genuinely gutted that they hadn't, and not necessarily won, but put in the kind of performance that they know that they can, and if they had, then it would have been a much better challenge. And if they put the performance in they can against Italy, I think they win, and possibly even comfortably. So we're both going away win Scotland there. Third and final one, then Wales against France. Cardiff Arms Park, Sunday, 2:15. All of the BBC iPlayer here in the United Kingdom. Where did Wales have to improve? Is it a little bit like Italy? Got to get the mental stuff right?
Yeah, I think they also have to, just really come together and look at how are they attacking, how are they breaking down play teams even, because I think for me that's probably the biggest thing. They're not really generating momentum within a game. If they do have a positive play or a break in play, what's that next move? And I think that's what France will have over them. They will have that momentum. They will have that, if something positive happens, right, we're going to really get stuck into them now and, stick that dagger in. However, France can also sometimes get too excited. And that's when France's kind of play does sometimes break down. But with just how many of their forwards, got over that line and how well they played against Italy, as in terms of a pack, I think it could be a hard day for Wales.
I just wonder, because Wales do it against England very well when they're playing well. You butchers. Beth Ann Lewis went off pretty early, didn't she? Which is a shame. But you George Evans, Al Cals, Alex Callender can deal with the big forwards, can deal with the big athletes, and begin to frustrate the breakdown, and that may get to France away from home. And I think that's an in for Wales. They're not scared of taking on big, powerful sides, and that's exactly what this French pack is. It looks like a very well-oiled machine at the moment. David Ortiz is. Gelman got them firing nicely. Do Wales? Sounds like a really simple question. They just smile a bit more. It should be a job. I know it's a job, but running around and playing rugby, a very hugely physical game. Then you chose to do that, and it should be enjoyable. And I understand the pressure that it's third last year, got to WXV1, all this pressure and contracts, and there's not a lot of money around in Wales, and it's going to the women and and Vodafone and come on and all the rest of it. You probably feel that pressure to perform, and just to lighten it off and play with a bit of more of a smile on the face.
Yeah, I think though, if you look, I remember they put up they do those little Her Story documentaries, don't they, every week?
Yeah.
And they put one up last year, and it was about England, and the whole game plan was, to slow us. It was to slow England down. It wasn't focused on Wales. It was sort of focused on lying in the breakdown, walking into the line out, walking to the scrum, which worked. It was effective. However, in my opinion, that's a really kind of negative view to have on the game, instead of being like, right, let's see how we can rip into them. Like, we have these great players, and how can we defeat them, mixed in with that kind of stuff, which is a tactic. That's when you get that energy from the players. I think, I don't know, that's just off of the things that I've seen, is that could be why you haven't seen them smiling. Like I said, if you said, what's your kind of attacking structure? Is it exciting? Do you feel like you have an exciting way of attacking? That would be a really interesting question to ask the players there, because generally that's what gets people excited. You look at England and you see the crowd stand up, you go, wow, look how well they attacked. You look at Ireland and what they've had after this game against Wales. Wow, look at how many line breaks they had. That's what makes people excited. And again, Scotland, you look when they're building their winning streaks, look at how they're attacking. It's full of confidence, like we spoke about previously. That would be a really interesting question. And I'm not sure that if that is the case, that can be changed within a week. And I think France will just really have that ability. You play some lovely rugby, some offload rugby, have that confidence to really, really go for it, especially looking towards England.
Yeah. When have we seen a play to put Jazz Joyce in an inch or two of space? I mean, she's world class, 15-7s. She's a real. I suspect you do sort of defensive stuff purely around her as an individual, because she's that dangerous. When have we ever seen her, with a play to make, her have some space to create even a one-on-one for her? I
think that's the thing, that you have a team of these phenomenal players. You have, Kaylee Powell, brilliant, nice to see her back. You got Courtney Keat back as well. You got Jazz Joyce. You got Alicia Butchers. You got Alex Calendar. You got Georgia Evans. Like, you look at these players, and for their clubs, they are standout players. And for me, I think it's probably a bit of a bigger picture. How are we attacking? How are we breaking down teams? And maybe that needs to be something that we need to look at.
Where are we going? Blue or red?
I'm definitely going blue. Sorry, girls.
Definitely, though, she said, girls. You hear that?
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
I think it's a big important performance for Wales. A little bit like Scotland. I'm not fearful of how Scotland are going to bounce back. I think they'll be fine. Wales bouncing back is important for me, and that level of performance. But I think France might just snatch it. Few shout outs then. Just dropping now, Berner. Just hearing some news from the British and Irish Lions women. I'll just very, very boringly read the top of the press release. Lions and Royal London announced $3 million grant for unions ahead of women's tour. The British and Irish Lions with the team founding partner Royal London launches Levelling the Playing Field grant to invest in the women's player and coaching pathways in Scotland, Wales, Ireland and England. Each home union has revealed its own funding plan tailored to the coaching and player needs, incorporating training camps, additional coaching staff and centres of excellence. This funding will help develop more players and coaches for inaugural Howden Lion Women's Tour to New Zealand in 2027. Don't think I really need a reaction from you, but we were just talking briefly before we came on that actually this kind of news now, yep, fine. And that's probably where women's rugby is now. Yep, of course they're going to invest $3 million. Yeah, why wouldn't they? That's probably the headline from that. But some other shout-outs. Matatu captain Alana Bremner became the 21st woman to play 100 first-class games in her side's 37-17 win over Hurricanes Poa in Super Rugby Aupiki. Well done, Alana.
Yeah, and Michaela Blythe's 50th 7th tournament, so congratulations to her. That's a hell of an achievement.
I love the way they walk back into the changing room. It's obviously all orchestrated with the media manager. They walk back and everybody's in the corners to do a haka for them for their 50th. Oh, jeez. Chopping onions every time I see those. They probably get to me. Well done to Louise McMillan as well. 50 caps for her in the Scotland 15s shirt. That was against France, and French hooker as well, Aggie Socha, reached the same milestone in Paris at the weekend. Great little player, Aggie Socha.
yeah, she really is a good player. But from a referee point of view, Joy Neville had her last game versus France versus Italy. But don't worry, she's still staying involved, with her title now being the Elite Women's 15 Match Official Head Coach with World Rugby. So that's a really great role for her. And yeah, she's been a brilliant referee, so excited to see where that takes her.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure you're going to get a business card long enough to put that title on. But you also wouldn't have a business, you wouldn't even have a piece of A4 to list her achievements, Joy Neville. From a player, 70 odd caps. I mean, she slipped in having her son Alfie in amongst all of this. TMO, first Women's TMO World Cup, etc. Just on and on and on. The list of achievements. And a really good egg as well. Firm. Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's firm as a referee, isn't she?
Yeah, but she's also lovely and understanding, and a referee you can have a conversation with and will talk to you, which is great. And she's been a real pioneer for women's rugby and for referees within that role. Yeah, so really pleased for her to be moving on, and hopefully she really enjoys it as much as she does the refereeing.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see her very soon. But look, the biggest news of the week is Sarah is top of our fantasy league, WRP Women's Six Nations Fantasy League. Is that you, Berna?
No, I'm really sorry. I'm not a part of it.
Play the game. Although I think a couple of players are involved. We've got someone, Sham Monahan. That's got to be Sam Monahan, isn't it? And Rachel _87. That's got to be Rachel Malcolm, isn't it? I mean, if it is, she's picked herself in the back row every round. We've also got a McKen in there, but none of them are particularly good at playing the fantasy game. Jake M is up 7 places this week, so well done to Jake M. But Sarah's top of the league. Well done to her. Yeah, well, whether it's you, Bern, or somebody else. Well done all the Sarahs out there. And just to remind you that we continue to raise money for Gary Street, bump in the road. This week, got a bit of infection and had to get into hospital. He's back home now, and some movement in his hand and right arm is coming along really, really well. Yeah, Streets Ahead on emma-live.com is what to search for to help out Gary, Helen, and the boys. So you're down at Twickers Saturday, bit of schmooze, a bit of corporate, bit of touchline as well. Should be a good day. And the rest of the weekend?
Is it? Oh, I'm just with my family. So down in London, they're Twickenham based anyway. Well, around there. So probably spend the weekend with my little nephews.
Oh, lovely stuff. Absolutely super. Look, I may well catch you at Twickenham. Thank you very much to Greg McWilliams. Thank you to Tom doing your stuff in the background. Berna, so pleased you're back. But yeah, hopefully it's not a 100-day cough for you. Because